Hi, welcome back. I want to talk today about releasing the brakes. It's a concept by Jack Canfield in his book, The Success Principles. And it's a really great concept because so often what we have is we have so much potential, but we don't release the brakes on our lives. We have these perceived limitations that disempower us, right? Take away our power, and we need to go through those so that we can start to achieve things in our lives. We know that we can get to, but for some reason we're getting held back. So we don't want to be held back. So how do we do this? Well, I can tell you that basically releasing the brakes starts with our brains, right? We have all these psychological reasons why we're being held back. Most of it's based in fear, but a lot of it is created by ourselves with the negative self-images and the self-talk that we have. And we have all these unprocessed experiences that we need to kind of go through and process them, get them out of the way and move on, right? So often we're living in the past and we need to be living in the present and in the future. And we also have this comfort zone where we feel comfortable because we don't want to venture out of that comfort zone. Remember, all the growth happens at the edge or the other side of your comfort zone. And so we place these self-imposed limitations that help us live within that comfort zone, and we don't want to go outside of that because of fear, right? And so successful people are good at releasing the brakes. They realize that it's irrational, and they realize that it's a limiting belief, and they have to let go of those limiting beliefs, and they create those self-images that allow them to empower themselves forward. I'll tell you about that just a second. But so many people say, well, I'm just gonna have willpower and I'm gonna power through it. Well, it's not as easy as that. It's a replacement of the self-images that we have that are holding us back. And so there's a couple of ways to change your comfort zone. Actually, 3 that I can think of. The number one is affirmations and positive self-talk, right? That's where you put in programming in your self-talk and in your affirmations, which you might say over and over again. And you remember, your brain is listening in on your words, so it's a powerful technique, but it's not the only part of the technique that you need to master. You've got to also create some powerful images in your mind, right? And those powerful images are that compelling future that you want to move towards. Very important to have imagery that you can see and you can feel and you can almost touch it, right? And you have to go forward with that. So you got the positive self-talk, you got the positive image, but that's not enough. You need to take action. So I use a formula called TFAR, T-F-A-R, right? It's your thoughts lead to your feelings, but then it leads to your actions. It's the TFA that lead to the R, which is results. So you've got to empower yourself with the full formula, right? You can't just take a piece of it. The deal is we get stuck sometimes, and we have to recreate those experiences to make them more empowering. And what happens is, like, we get stuck in repeating the same thing over and over again. So I have a couple of friends and unfortunately lost somebody in suicide in their family. And this was several years ago, and they're still stuck in repeating those incidents, those experiences, the feelings that they have around that incident. And unfortunately, it's like when you have a river, the more you run water down a river, the deeper and wider the river becomes. You reinforce the neural pathways, and when those neural pathways are reinforced, they get deeper and more powerful, right? And so what we have to do is we have to deaden those neural pathways. We have to say, okay, listen, that happened. Let's reframe the way I'm interpreting it. And when I reframe the way I'm interpreting, it will dry up that neural pathway, and it'll be there, but it'll have a different meaning. That's really critical, is changing the meaning. The other thing is that you've got to stop blaming your circumstances, because we all have problems, we all have circumstances, and it's how we deal with them that makes the difference. So I was just in Greece, and I go to Greece a couple of times a year, and I love the country. I'm half Greek, and I really thrive over there. But I did notice more this time than any other time that there's a streak in their culture, and they'll agree with me, because I've asked them, about complaining, about blaming. So it's always the government's fault. Now we have that here too, right? It's the government's fault, it's this person's fault, it's my family's fault. It's always somebody else's fault. And when you blame somebody else, you move yourself away from the control of it, and you put the control into somebody else's hands, and therefore you're powerless, right? But you can take the control back. The problem is you push yourself out of the comfort zone, and things start to happen in your favor. So why is it so important to release the brakes? Well, we have to release them because we need to overcome our self-imposed limitations. We know that there's a lot waiting for us on the other side of that comfort zone. And we can open the door to new opportunities when we can experience that. So how do we do this? How do we do this? Well, first of all, we let go of our negative self-images. We have to just kind of get rid of them and put them in a cloud and let them float away. Sounds easy, right? I know, easier said than done. We have to replace those limiting beliefs with more empowering beliefs, right? We have to reframe them. And we have to also cultivate a positive self-image. Because when you put all those three things together, you replace the negative self-image with a positive self-image. It's kind of like if you wanted to quit smoking, you quit smoking, but all of a sudden you start eating a lot. And now you gain a bunch of weight. Well, that's not replacing one empowering or disempowering habit with another empowering habit. You're replacing with another disempowering habit. What if you said, I want to lose weight, and therefore I'm going to go to the gym and work out? And every time you had that, you started to link those two together. That's a more empowering habit. You see what I mean? So that's the way we do it. So the first part of it is to create those powerful internal images. So we got to visualize our desired goals, our desired achievements, and then we've got to really tap into our own imagination. Your imagination is unlimited. Make it exaggerated. Make it so that it's cool and fun to exaggerate and cool to imagine what it could be. You've got to change your behavior for personal growth. You take your action for desired outcomes. You get into this little habit, this little routine where you're starting to feel it, you're starting to see it, but you're putting action behind it because you're changing the way you behave and you create that personal growth. And then you have the power of repetition. So instead of repeating the negative things that are associated with that event, you replace those negative things with a reframe or a redefinition so that maybe it's a more empowering belief that, in this case, the suicide situation, maybe that was the way it was supposed to be. And maybe that's almost perfect, right? Doesn't feel like it. And it sounds easy for me to say because I haven't been through it. And, I feel for these people and I feel for anybody that's gone through that situation. But reframing the meaning behind what happened and not associating the sadness, the anger, the hurt, the fear, the guilt with it, but saying, maybe this is for the best and maybe that was the best thing that could have happened. However you reframe it, that's up to you. But there's got to be something good that can come from it. And you've got to stop blaming those external circumstances so you can take responsibility for your own personal growth. And you can empower yourself just by being aware, right? The first step to change is awareness. And so once you become aware, then you can start that step to change. So let's work on releasing our brakes, right? It's a really important concept. Letting go of those limiting beliefs, letting go of those negative self-images, embracing affirmations, visualizations, goal, the future, that behavioral change that you're trying to achieve. So what are some of the takeaways with this last 5 minutes of your life? Well, you've got to release the brakes so that you can get on the other side of your comfort zone and unlock that success. And then you can replace those limiting beliefs with more empowering beliefs, right? I know I'm repeating it, but these are the concepts that I want you to understand. You could do this with anything. Replace those limiting beliefs. And then to do that, use the tools, affirmations, visualizations, behavior changes, habits, routines, all of these things to attach that thoughts to the feelings, to the actions that are going to get you to the results you need. And that way you're going to be able to embrace change and release the brakes in your life. Hey, it's Mark Yegge, founder of Light Circle. And if you want to be productive in your life, you've got to get a hold of my daily productivity planner. Now, it's not this whole book. It's just one of the sheets from this book. The whole book is awesome, but just the sheet is really the foundation of what we do. And it's how I get tons and tons of stuff done every week, including writing books and making videos and running hedge funds and all the other stuff that I do. You've got to get this daily productivity planner if you want to massively improve your success. So click on the link below or somewhere on this page, download the thing for free, you put in your email address, we'll send you the link, and then you can start filling it out right away. By the way, after you do it, I give you a little video on how to fill it out because it's got all these really cool tools on it that are really going to massively help you with your productivity. See you on the inside.